What will the result of Bitcoin be after this Fed decision? Will we have a rally? Will we continue to move sideways in a turtle market? Or will Bitcoin have a crash? We find out tomorrow. What is up, everybody? It is me, Tim, and in this video, we're going to cover the details of what you could be expecting to happen to Bitcoin tomorrow when we find out what the FOMC decides about future interest rate hikes. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button, and if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing to the channel and joining this great community. But with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. Before we talk details of what the Fed could be deciding and announcing tomorrow, I want to start out by looking at the chart on Bitcoin and letting you guys know what the price action has been doing ever since this original dip back at the end of January. Now, we've talked about this on previous shows, but every single one of these dips and rallies have been based mostly off of anticipation of FUD and FOMO information. For example, this dip that happened right here that started our trend down to the lower 30s was actually an anticipation of what the Fed could decide to do based off of inflation rates at that time. Now, as you notice, we ended up kind of having a kick the can down the road scenario with the Fed, which led to a slow trickle back up before we had a FOMO rally with information coming out about jobs. But what you need to take away from the charts is that in the last couple of months, there has been a lot of FOMOing and FUDing out as we start this ascending triangle. In this video, I'm going to tell you about what you should be expecting based off the information that has come out tomorrow. Now, this recent dip that we had starting back here on the 10th of March, more than likely, in my opinion, is based off of an anticipation and an uneasiness about what the Fed will actually decide, especially after last week's numbers came out that inflation wasn't what most predicted, but was actually sitting high at 7.9%. Now, a lot of you guys are asking, Tim, what should we be expecting for tomorrow? And when we get an answer, what will those answers mean? I want to start off by letting you know what most economists are expecting, and that is that the Fed will stick to what they previously said and go with a 0.25% increase in interest rate. Now, while this might come across as a kick the can down the road scenario, again, this actually is longevity-wise what's probably best for not only Bitcoin, but the entire economy. And we're gonna dive a little bit more into that in the rest of this video, and in future videos, go into more depth. But just so you know, right now, most signs are pointing that the Fed will not get aggressive. They will probably go ahead and stick with that rate of 0.25%. What this means for Bitcoin's price is that more than likely, this dip that we've seen over the last couple of days and anticipation with fear will most likely be curbed, and this could potentially rally and get Bitcoin's price to rally back up towards at least the top of these ascending triangle levels back around 44,000. I don't want you to think that that's necessarily a guarantee. This is simply a variable in what Bitcoin's price can do. But if the recent bearish price action was an anticipation move of a more aggressive Fed decision, then a light Fed decision should lead to short-term bullish movement. Now, in the off chance that the Fed ends up becoming semi-aggressive and goes a little higher with a 0.5 or 0.75% increase to the interest rate, things change a little bit and we could be seeing more of a bearish outcome. For example, if you look at the scenarios back in 1994, 2000, and 2006, where we had to raise interest rates, you're gonna see that there was an initial raise of 0.25%, in which case the market seemed to continue. But when more aggressive steps were taken, such as 0.5 and 0.75, that's when we saw a major shock to the markets of the stock market and commodities, and we ended up seeing bearish price actions happen, not just short term, but it had a longevity effect. Now, I don't want to scare you guys because more than likely that's not what we're expecting. Again, with that thought of we've seen the Fed make this decision before to continue to kick the can down the road, this is a possibility that we must explore. In future videos, we'll go into more detail about what happened in each of those scenarios because despite the fact that the prices of the stock market went down, traders who knew what they were doing took advantage of the situations and still made money. But what I want you to take away from this video is the answer of what you should be expecting tomorrow from that Fed announcement. The first thing is more than likely we will see a continuation of the original plan of an increase of 0.25, and this should lead to bullish Bitcoin price action because as much as it might start to help curb inflation, it will not slow it down, and some economists might even wonder if inflation will continue just as normal. This will actually bring an increase to Bitcoin's price as the US dollar continues to lose value and people and institutions look other places to hedge against the inflation. If we see a spike up to 0.5%, this won't be as drastic as maybe 0.75, but we could see a potential stun to the market, in which case people are a little bit more unclear. Because the interest rate would grow a little higher than 0.25, this would cause the overall value and demand of the US dollar to go up, which makes people less likely to want to go ahead and move their money into things as stocks or commodities, which include, at this point in people's minds, crypto. 0.75 is the scariest of the three, and while it's most likely not going to happen, if it were to happen, we have seen in the past the stock market and commodities tend to go to the downside, as that major increase to the value of the US dollars significantly decreases the likelihood that people want to invest in other stocks. No matter what happens tomorrow in the decision, I do want to remind you that this is simply one variable of what will affect Bitcoin's price. We're not just resting on what happens to the US dollar based off of inflation and interest rates, but remember that we also have regulation coming out this year that could add some clarity and some certainty to institutional money that have been sitting on the sideline for years. Also, even if the US dollar stops inflating and ends up gaining more value in the short term, longevity-wise, we know that the dollar will continue to inflate over the long term, and because of that, people will continue to look for other places to hedge against that inflation. Bitcoin was made for these situations. So if you're an investor, just continue to hodl. There will be some scary things happen if that number comes out above 0.25, but continue to hodl because Bitcoin was made for the future. If you're a trader, I think no matter what, you're gonna see volatility happen in the market. Whether it's majorly bullish or whether it's to the downside, there will be some opportunities coming up in the near future for traders to make some money. That's all I have for you guys in this video. Again, hit that like button, consider subscribing to the channel, and make sure you let me know what you think down in the comments. I'll see you tomorrow and we'll announce what actually the decision is. That's all I have for you guys. Peace.
Hey, you made it to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this video, you should definitely consider subscribing because we're trying to help you become financially free in these cryptocurrency markets. And also, consider following us on Twitter @CryptoJeb for more updates on the price of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Peace.